Hello. In this module, we're going to be discussing measurement. And as behavior analysts, we study measurement, but we often are focused on measuring the behavior of the individuals that we're trying to help. And having skills in that area does not always translate well to staff training. Measurement's important in staff training because it allows us to be objective. Sometimes when somebody has good social skills and we enjoy being around them, it can be easy to think they're doing a better job than they really are. And probably the opposite is true of someone we don't enjoy being around quite as much. So the purpose of this module is to discuss measurement as it applies to staff training. We talk a lot about individualizing interventions for children we serve, but the same is true of staff training. If our measurement system tells us that our intervention is not effective, we can be responsive to that, make changes to work in that particular situation, find a way to be effective. So as you go through this module, you can acquire a lot of tools of the trade, but make sure you also think a lot about how you can incorporate and individualize those tools to work in your particular situation. I thought this would be a good point in the course to talk a little bit about a fairly common measurement area or area of confusion among a lot of behavior analysts. To discuss this, I think it's helpful to first talk a little bit about free operants versus restricted operants. A free operant can occur at any time. There's no limits to how much the behavior can occur within a specific period of time. And a restricted operant, I always think of that as per opportunity. So you're limited to the opportunities that are provided. That's what a restricted operant would be. So sometimes you'll hear someone say that a child will be taught to request 80% of the time. If you're literally always asking, what do you want? You could set a criterion at 80% of the time that the child will say, what they want. But typically what we really would hope for, I think, in most situations is for a child or learner to request, without a question needing to be asked. So 80% is not really appropriate in that particular situation. What would be appropriate is setting a particular rate. So for instance, you might collect data on the rate of request per hour. In contrast, something like arriving at work on time, that can only occur one time a day. So if we're looking at a typical work week of 5 days and an individual is on time 4 out of 5 days, you can record that as a percentage. They were on time 80% of opportunities that week. There's no real perfect formula, but I think considering whether you are looking at a free operant or a restricted operant is important when designing a measurement system. The only thing I wanted to add, just one caveat I think we can add to this, is that when choosing measurement, we sometimes have to make a decision based on what's practical and what's useful. So let's think about a teacher who's not offering any praise statements to her students. Technically, we would get, the most accurate measurement would be, if we looked at the percentage of times a teacher praised students for defined events such as raising their hand or giving correct answers. However, measuring this is not always going to be practical if we're looking at multiple students. So we might decide in a situation like that measuring the rate of positive statements per half hour will be a measure that's both useful and will be practical. You'll actually be able to collect those data. Okay, so in this module, we will start with an article discussing, do we measure enough? This is an older article, but I think it provides a nice discussion of some different types of measurement systems that we have available to us. We also have a brief talk by Aubrey Daniels about measurement. He especially addresses why measurement is important and how we can convince others to measure behavior. We'll also have an article by Lewis. It's called Observation of Student and Teacher and Student Behavior. And I think this is one of the strongest readings in the course. I hope you will not only read it, but I hope you will also study it and print it to keep in your files. It has many practical implications to your work as a behavior analyst. The The information is not only useful for measuring staff behavior, it's also helpful for measuring the behavior of clients. In particular, you want to attend to the information in this article about choosing the best measurement system for different types of situations. We'll then have several readings that will take a closer look at some of the specific tools available to us, the measurement systems that are most useful when measuring the effects of staff training. Some of these will include ABC analyses and checklists. There will also be 2 activities where you collect data. In the first activity, you will collect data and then answer multiple choice questions about the data that you collected. And then in the other, you will read a seminal article, many years old, but quite good, about measuring both learner outcomes and teacher behavior. When you do that, you will then complete a data assignment, and that assignment will be submitted to Turnitin. So I hope you enjoy the measurement module. As always, be sure to let us know if you have any questions.